Hey everybody, welcome back to the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. I'm Ernest, and on today's episode we've got another day in the life of a mobile mechanic. Pretty busy day, 3 unique things we're gonna do, and I'm starting off the day with a brake change. So all I've gotta do is jack this car off, do some brakes, but after this, it's gonna get pretty interesting. This brake change is just gonna be any other brake change, gonna swap some rotors and some brake pads in, and then after this we're gonna go look at an old '89 Dodge Ram. This Dodge Ram started leaking some coolant, and the owner thinks that it might have a head gasket leak. So this might be the end of the life for this classic old truck. Hopefully not. We'll get over there and do a proper diagnosis, and if we can save it, we'll see what we can do. They may end up just putting a new engine in it if they can. Let's wrap up this brake job and head across town. Let's get the early morning going with this cool old Ram. Now I actually have some interesting history with this truck. Let's rewind to last year when I had a call out to fix this truck because it blew a coolant hose. The owner actually thought that the truck had a head gasket problem back then as well, and oil was actually mixing in with the coolant. That's something that I didn't really mention in this video because I was just going to wait and see what happened. In fact, I may have mentioned that in the previous video. Check it out. Anyways, we actually found out recently that it actually didn't have a head gasket problem because the vehicle owner's wife accidentally poured oil into the coolant. So now that that's taken care of, it's been cleaned up, we do have a leak, so I'm going to go ahead and pressure test it and see if I can figure out where that's coming from. This video is sponsored by 𝕗𝖊𝖈𝖍𝖊. I have a 𝕗𝖊𝖈 truck bed tent right here. Let's set it up. I'm in the mountains today. 𝕗𝖊𝖈𝖍𝖊 sells all kinds of great products, tools and otherwise. Make sure you check out the link in the description and the pinned comment if you're interested. All right, here's the case for this truck bed tent. Let's go ahead and set it up. I'll tell you about how long it takes. I've grown up camping my whole life, so I'm no beginner at setting up tents. Setting this up took me about 10 minutes. These straps you see hook under the edge of the truck and hold the tent in place. There was plenty of room in my small truck bed, so even if you have a newer truck with a shorter bed, this will work for you. All right, I just got this set up. Here's what it looks like on the inside. I really like that the tarp part on the bottom comes all the way up the sides. All right, here it is all done. It's looking great. So now that we're back to the video, let's put that pressure test on this truck and figure out where the leak's coming from. All right, after pressure testing the system, it actually looks like the leak's just coming from the water pump, so let's order a new one of those and get it swapped out. But the owner's also been worried about the thermostat recently, so let's put a new one of those in too. All right, all I've got to do is take a few things apart to get down to the water pump. Okay, all I've got to do is loosen that fan up and then disconnect the brackets and unbolt that water pump real fast. Let me get it out and show everything to you, and then I'll show you how it goes when I put it back in. There we go. Yep, bad old homemade gasket. That's what was leaking. Get a new one on there. All right, now I've just got to scrape the gasket off of that, the old gasket. Luckily, it's a pretty bad old one, so it should be real easy to clean up. Got a nice new one if it cleans up well. We shouldn't need any former gasket. All right, so it's hard to get a super good angle. You can see the alternator in the way here. There's actually 2 bolts that go through the alternator bracket and all the way through the water pump. That's where the water was leaking, was from those 2 bolts right there. And then on the opposite side, these old trucks also have an air pump. And so that air pump has a bracket that goes in the same way. And then there's one little bracket that comes up from the power steering. I had to remember what order those went in. So I was just focused on that for a minute. But I got all those in place loosely, and then I'm going to tighten them up here. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and replace the thermostat like I mentioned as well. I put a paper towel down in the hole so I can scrape that old gasket off. Same deal here, a bit of bad old gasket, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The new gasket looks like it's paper, but it doesn't look like it's actually going to work with the thermostat. All the other belts are on tightly, so that's all I'm worried about now. So I thought I got that gasket on well. I put one layer of forma gasket on with it, and I'm gonna load everything back up here, put it all in place, and we'll find out that that thermostat's gonna be leaking. The thermostat gasket didn't seal up, so I put another layer of forma gasket on the clean side. That looked like it did the trick. So let's go ahead and start this up and get it cycling, mix that little bit of fluid left, get warmed up. Alright, so that looks like everything's on tight, running well. The bit of that coolant did get drunk up by that radiator when it warmed up. Big air bubble drunk that up. And there weren't any leaks, so everything's great on this one. We're going to move on to the next job. I've got an emergency alternator call out. Let's get it swapped out. Alright, so this customer broke down the night before and had their car towed over to a buddy's house. I'm gonna go ahead and look at it. They told me they thought it was the alternator, but I usually bring a belt and a tensioner and everything with me anyways. And we'll go ahead and discover, because they thought the belt was still on everything, that they thought it was the alternator, so let's dig into it. Yeah, there's the belt. I don't know what they were looking at then. Thought they said the belt was there, so. Not sure. So first thing I'm going to do then is replace the tensioner and the belt. I brought those with me. The tensioner though. It's gotta be that. Alright, so the alternator's pretty seized up. That's definitely what caused the issue there. So we're just going to do the alternator, the belt, and the tensioner. See if you can hear it real quick. Got some crunchies in there. So if you actually look at the belt that I took off of it real quick, you can see just how seized up that alternator got and burned off this belt. You can see that it's worn all the way down to the little bit of metal backing that's inside of these belts there. A bit of gunk there, but let me hold it up so you can see even one end is more worn than the other, like from left to right. And then I was looking at the alternator again in the parts store when I was returning the core, and you could just see how much rubber pieces were all over that. I didn't know what that was at first, but you'll see my hands get super dirty working on it. So this one's terribly hard to see anything. The alternator is hidden around the back. I'm gonna go ahead and get some stuff loosened up and then show you as best I can. All right, I just got the 3 bolts off the alternator. The 2 on the bottom are easily accessible from the bottom, so I did that. So I think this can slide out off of these studs. Hopefully I don't have to remove the studs. Alright, I had to take those studs out. That should be all that's keeping that in. So you can actually take this little plastic cover apart to get to the stud and the clip underneath that. You probably should have done that first, but I just waited till the end to do it. All right, well here you can see the motor running. I got that belt on, and let me tell you, that was a bit of a fight to get that on. The homeowner actually asked me if they could help, and I had a wrench on the tensioner while I was trying to slip the belt on, and I was like, yeah, give that wrench a turn for me if you don't mind. Even while they were doing that, I couldn't get the belt on, so I had to take a pulley off because the pulley was held on with a bracket with 3 bolts. And once I did that, I was able to put the bracket back in place with the belt on it and screw it in by hand just nicely and then tighten it back down. And there's a look at the alternator all snug back in its place back here, working just fine. The battery light went off, so that's a job well done. And that's the end of a long day. At the end of the day, everything went well. I was able to get everything back into place and get all the vehicles running. Thanks for watching. If you like this episode, make sure that you're subscribed and you leave this video a thumbs up. Leave me a nice comment down below. And if you want to help out, you can donate at the links in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Roadside Rescue.